Today we're at Spring Grove Cemetery in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Take a look at that. It is one of the largest mausoleums, one of the nicest, most expensive mausoleums of all time. The Dexter Mausoleum right here at Spring Grove Cemetery, the third largest cemetery in the United States. This is an amazing cemetery. We're going to show you around, and we cordially invite you to come along for the adventure.
Come along.
We are now walking up to the grave of Miller Huggins.
Miller Huggins was a professional baseball player for the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals. He was an awesome fielding second baseman. He also managed several baseball teams, including the New York Yankees, that won 3 World Series championships and 6 American League pennants while he was the manager. His 1927 Yankees team, with its lineup known as Murderer's Row, which included Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, is considered to be one of the best teams in the history of baseball. Babe Ruth called Miller the only man who could keep him in line. Miller understood the fundamentals of baseball and was considered to be an intelligent manager. He had 3 nicknames throughout his career that had to do with how good of a defensive second baseman he was, along with his size. He was only 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighed around 140 pounds throughout his playing career. His nicknames were Mighty Might, Rabbit, and Little Everywhere because he was all over the field when he was playing defense. Miller actually obtained a law degree before he began his professional baseball career.
George Reeves starred as Superman in the Adventures of Superman TV show. He died a suspicious death in June of 1959 in California.
We've actually been to that house. We'll put a little bit of video of that up on the screen for you. After George died, his mother sent a telegraph to the cemetery. The telegraph, according to Cincinnati.com, the Inquirer, said, quote, "I would like to have a private mausoleum built for my son, Superman," end quote. No mention that her son's name was George Reeves, just Superman, because everybody knew at the time who Superman was. So they stored his body here for that period of time, about 8 months. During this time, they were trying to figure out how to build this mausoleum. George's mom wanted George buried with her parents. However, there was not room on the family plot to put this mausoleum. In the end, she decided to have him cremated, had his remains shipped out to California, where apparently she kept them for the remainder of her life. After her death, he was interred in California.
Here's an interesting fact that you may or may not know. George's birth name was George Kiefer Brewer. George also starred in Gone with the Wind, Dead Men Tell, The Blue Gardenia, Superman and the Mole Men, Westward Ho the Wagons, and more. He was also a musician and an amateur boxer. Reeves starred in an American war movie called So Proudly We Hail, which inspired him to pause his acting career and join the Army. He ended up serving in the Air Force Division during World War II.
We traveled to George Reeves' death house in Los Angeles, California, and we have much more about his death in our 18 and up video, which we will link below. Dr. Henry Heimlich was a medical researcher and a well-known surgeon. He published an article titled "Pop Goes the Cafe Coronary" in the magazine Emergency Medicine on June 1st of 1974. He wrote about a method he had come up with that would force food out of a windpipe of someone who was choking to death. The method quickly went nationwide after columnist Arthur Snyder wrote about it in the Chicago Daily News. The story was reprinted in newspapers throughout the country, and the method quickly became known as the Heimlich maneuver. In a 2009 New York Times article, the Heimlich maneuver was credited with saving around 100,000 lives at that point in time. Dr. Heimlich also invented a portable oxygen tank and flutter valve, which helped clear air and blood from airways. A flutter valve may help someone who has COPD because it helps keep the airways open. The flutter valve is also known as the Heimlich valve and was used to save the lives of hundreds of American soldiers during the Vietnam War. After Henry completed medical school, he joined the U.S. Navy during World War II in China. While he was there, he became Lieutenant Heimlich and became a chief medical officer.
Dr. Heimlich passed away on December 17, 2016, and was buried here next to his wife, Jane Murray. They tied the knot on June 4, 1951, and had 4 children together. Jane Murray Heimlich was born July 1, 1926. She passed away on November 10, 2012, at the age of 86. Jane was the daughter of Arthur and Catherine Murray, who were famous and considered the king and queen of ballroom dancing. Jane is the author of 2 books, What Your Doctor Won't Tell You and Out of Step. Out of Step is a memoir about her life. She wrote about being an identical twin, what it was like being the daughter of famous ballroom dancers, her father's bad temper, how she moved from coast to coast, and ended up marrying Dr. Henry Heimlich, who ended up becoming famous after coming up with his life-saving maneuver. What Your Doctor Won't Tell You is a book about alternative medicine.
We are walking up to the grave of Bernard Heinrich Kroger, who went by Henry. Can you guess what Mr. Kroger is known for? Here's a hint. His last name has something to do with it. If you guessed the Kroger store, you are absolutely right. He had 9 siblings. At 13, he quit school because he wanted to help support his family. He worked at a store until his mom told him that she did not want him working on Sundays anymore because of their Christian faith. At the age of 14, he ended up working on a farm, which caused him to move away from home. While he worked at the farm, he made only $6 per month. On top of that, he did not like his employer. He worked at the farm until he ended up with malaria, then he quit and walked 37 miles back to Cincinnati. According to the Kroger website, in 1883, he invested his life savings of $372 and found a partner. The 2 of them opened a grocery store at 66 Pearl Street in Cincinnati, and they named it the Great Western Tea Company. He quickly bought out his partner, and within 2 years, he had grown his company to a chain of 4 grocery stores.
At the time, grocery stores did not make fresh bread and didn't usually sell meat. You'd have to visit a butcher for meat, and the bread would be brought in from a bakery. Bernard decided to change this. He opened his first bakery in 1901 and changed the name of his stores to Kroger Grocery and Baking Company. In 1904, he purchased a meat company and set up meat counters in his stores. He married Mary Emily Jansen at the age of 25 and had 7 children with her. Kroger contributed to his community in many ways. He donated money for zoos, parks, medical research, and also helped fund Kroger Hills Camp, which helped anemic children. He also did many more amazing things. James Gamble was born in Ireland. He lived there until his father George decided to move his family to America in 1989 in order to escape the Depression. His father was a Methodist minister who planned to preach in Illinois, but James became ill along the way. So the family made their way to Cincinnati instead to get treatment for James. Then they decided to stay in the area. James was a very successful businessman. He and his brother-in-law William Proctor co-founded Procter & Gamble. It started as a soap and candle company. Then it turned into a multinational customer goods company that makes and distributes a large variety of products including soap, baby wipes, diapers, surface cleaners, beauty products, Vicks, Febreze, Tide, and many more things. Procter & Gamble has earned a variety of awards and has been recognized in multiple areas. It has expanded through the years and continues to flourish to this day. James Gamble was born on April 3, 1803, and passed away on April 29, 1891, at the age of 88 years old. We're walking to Sergeant Kimberly R. Walker's grave to pay our respects. Sergeant Kimberly R. Walker joined the military in 2004. She was deployed to Iraq twice, once in 2006 and again in 2010. She was there for a year each time. She was scheduled to go back in the summer of 2013. Sergeant Walker was 28 years old when she tragically passed away on February 14th, 2013, Valentine's Day. She was killed by Montrell Lamar Anderson Mayo, who was her boyfriend at the time, in a Colorado motel room. He was convicted of first-degree murder by a military jury. According to a Daily Mail article, close to 8 months after Walker passed away, 2 SpongeBob headstones were put up here at the cost of about $26,000, one for her and one for her still-living twin sister. They are each wearing a military uniform with the number 24 for Jeff Gordon on one arm and an American flag on the other arm. Kimberly's family said that she loved SpongeBob and that she had a lot of SpongeBob memorabilia. Sadly, within a day, they were removed. Her family was told that the headstones were not appropriate for the historical cemetery, despite the fact that her family had received approval before they put them up. They were told that the headstones were not approved by senior management and that they did not properly fit in cemetery guidelines. After going back and forth with cemetery officials for a year, the headstones were put back up on Valentine's Day of 2014. However, this time there were large granite slabs, each more than 6 feet tall, put up in front of them so you cannot see the SpongeBob headstone from the road. The cemetery staff ended up issuing an apology to the Walker family, and the Walker family accepted that apology. To me, it's one thing to say, hey, look, you can't put these headstones up at our cemetery. But to give permission and then take them down after the family spent almost $30,000 on them is ridiculous. I'm glad that they got it all worked out. However, I find it pretty silly that they had to put granite slabs in front of the headstones.
In loving memory of Sergeant Kimberly R. Walker, this was written by her. If you are reading this poem, it means that I am no longer with you in the sense that my body is not next to you in a physical state. But I am still with you in your hearts and your spirits and your memories. So please do not mourn the end of my precious life, but rejoice in the beginning of my new life. I have risen to heaven to be amongst many angels. I have to admit my new life is full of even more countless blessings than I could ever imagine. So today, celebrate the good memories that I have shared with each and every one of you. Think about how I have impacted your life and how you impacted mine. When you think of me as a determined and loving friend, mother, sister, daughter, and soldier. Cherish my memories and allow me to live on with you forever. Do not mourn the loss of my life. Smile and know that I will always smile down on you from heaven in return. Cherish every memory. Live every day as if it is your last. No one is promised tomorrow. So when that day does come, ensure that your presence on earth has made a difference. It is never too late to get God on your side and live right. Ensure that you will come join me at the pearly gates one day. The choice is yours. And if you have not started, you can always start today. By Kimberly Walker.
C.C. Brewer has a bronze bust of himself at his grave.
And his eyes are made of glass. People claim that as you walk around his gravesite, his eyes follow you as you go.
Many blog posts, books, and articles claim that he used the glass eyes because he was an optometrist. However, that is not true at all. That is a lie.
He was not an optometrist. As a matter of fact, he was a salesman, a real estate investor, and a commission agent. According to CincinnatiMagazine.com, he married not once, not twice, but 3 times. He disowned his own daughters. He tried to blow up one of his own buildings. He was declared insane, and he died in a mental hospital. But at no point was he an optometrist. I have no idea why he decided on the glass eyes, or even who made that decision. Do you, Heather?
I have no clue either, but it does look pretty cool.
It does kind of look like his eyes are following you as you walk around.
This cemetery was established in 1845, making it more than 178 years old. It was designated as a National Historic Landmark in March of 2007. There are about 700 acres here. It's one of the largest cemeteries in the United States with lots to explore. We've seen a lot of people walking the paths throughout the cemetery. 10 years after it was established, Adolf Strauch was hired to make the cemetery land look more natural and beautiful, making it into a garden cemetery. That was easy for Adolf to do because he was a renowned landscape architect. There are a lot of trees and shrubs here. Also, there are several man-made lakes here. This area was recently constructed. Look at this swan. Aww, so beautiful.
It took 4 years for architect James Keyes Wilson to design this Gothic revival mausoleum/chapel.
The cost was around $100,000. Now think about this. This was back in the late 1800s. This thing would have cost well over $1 million today.
Edmund Dexter was born in 1801 and passed away July 24th, 1862. Edmund Dexter Sr. married Mary Dellinger in 1829, and the couple had 5 boys together, starting the year after they got married. Edmund started a liquor distribution company in downtown Cincinnati, Ohio in the 1820s, and he quickly became rich from it. The final touches were never added to the mausoleum. It was supposed to also have an elevator and stained glass windows, but for financial reasons, it was never finished by builder Joseph Foster. There are roughly 20 people laid to rest in here along with Edmund. All but one are Dexters. This includes at least 4 generations of Dexter's family. We are walking up to the Hessler Mausoleum. We believe it has been built before anyone passed away. One of the reasons for that is we can't find any information online in regards to someone being interred here.
It's decorated with beautiful flowers and mulch. Notice there aren't any inscriptions written here. It seems the family has prepared this ahead of time to make it a bit easier for their loved ones. This lake is right behind their mausoleum.
Now it's time to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming along with us. This is definitely the biggest cemetery we've ever been to.
It is amazing. 700 something acres, miles and miles of roadways through the cemetery. We've been here about 5 hours, I'd say, and we have definitely not seen all that this cemetery has to offer. It would take days and days to go through the whole thing, but just an amazing, peaceful place. A lot of people come out here to walk, to get exercise. We've seen a whole lot of people doing that through the cemetery. Just a cool place to kind of hang out and check out the beauty of it all. Y'all be sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you can come along with us on future adventures.
Come along.